Ariton West. I'm a student of Saskatoon Polytechnic. I'm here to make a presentation for the course Professional Education and Career Planning. My topic is Hierarchy of Control, and my subtopic is Ensuring Safety, Workplace Safety. Introduction. Employee productivity and well-being depend on the workplace safety. One comprehensive way to reduce or completely eradicate exposure to risk is through the hierarchy of hazard control. It is divided into 5 categories which are rated from the most effective to the least effective. They are elimination, substitution, engineering control, administrative control, and personal protective equipment. Each level, its application and the significance of giving these controls top priority to improve workplace safety will be covered in this discussion. Takes me to my next slide, which is learning objective and brief explanation. Learning objective. At the end of this presentation, the students are supposed to at least know what a hazard is, recognize the various hazard control methods, understand how to use hierarchy in practical setting, and acknowledge the significance of every control mechanism to optimize safety, understand which control is more efficient. What is hazard control? Let's know the basic hazard. Hazard is anything that has the potential to cause harm. Examples are like safety hazard, noise, trip and fall, chemical hazard, inhalation of dangerous fume, health hazard, infectious diseases, cough, etc. The next one is hazard control program, which includes all measures that is required to safeguard employees against exposure to material or system, as well as the instruction and protocols needed to keep an eye on employees' exposure to substances, materials, or chemicals, and other kinds of hazard. It can be short or long-term control, like a leaking roof. A short-term control is keeping a bucket and placing a warning sign. Then a long-term control will be fixing the roof. A documented program for controlling occupational hazard will specify the approaches being taken to eliminate exposure and the ways in which these results will be evaluated. Take me to my next slide, which is why should a workplace implement hazard control? That's the importance, the relevance of hazard control in workplace. They say in every circumstance, the employer bears the responsibility of exercising due diligence in making all reasonable effort to prevent workplace mishap or injuries. Certain risk and associated mitigation measures will be stated clearly in legal statutes. When working in an environment where controlling a hazard is unclear or where there is no legal limit or guidelines, you should consult occupational health professionals like occupational hygienists, ergonomics, engineers, or safety professionals to determine what constitutes best practice or standard practice. That takes me to my next slide, which is 5 ways of hazard control. The first one is the elimination method. This is getting rid of the hazard right from the source at workplace. Substitution. Exchange a dangerous item such as machinery, products for a less dangerous one. Engineering control. This comprises layers or adjustment to machinery, plants, air conditioning system, and produce that lessens the exposure of the source. Administrative controls are those that modify the way that the work is carried out. These include scheduling, rules, regulation, work policies like standard and operative procedures, which covers things like housekeeping, personal hygiene training, and equipment maintenance. Personal protective equipment. Protective clothing or apparel workers wear to lessen the exposure to toxins or hazard like noise. The hierarchy of control is another name for this technique. Let's go to my pyramid diagram. Hierarchy of control from most efficient to the least effective. Elimination, substitution, engineering control, administrative control, PPE. The hierarchy of control is the systematic method of getting rid of or cutting down workplace risks from the highest level of protection to the lowest level of protection. The controls are ranked as to select a control strategy, beginning at the top of the inverted pyramid. Before considering the second layer of control, which is the substitution, you evaluate the viability of the first layer of control, which is the removal of the hazard, until you reach the base of the pyramid and have determined how many controls are required to sufficiently shield the worker from risk. Keep doing this process over and over. That takes me to the body of my presentation, which is the explanation. There are the 5 levels in the hierarchy of hazard control, and each one gets less and less effective in removing the hazard. The most successful approach is the elimination method. They say this is the most successful approach because it entails getting rid of the hazard entirely from the workplace. For example, by stopping the use of hazardous chemicals. Substitution is the process of changing a dangerous component with a less dangerous one. For example, using a less toxic substance in the place of harmful one. So instead of using pesticide which could cause various effects on the body, we use a natural pesticide like trims. Engineering control. The main goal is to physically separate humans from dangers by redesigning or adding machine guards or ventilation systems. Administrative control. It is in the control of the employer and the consultation of the Occupational Health and Safety Committee, because it includes the rotation of shifts, because it also helps to restrict exposure time to this hazard, introducing safety training programs, and altering how people operate or prevent prolonged exposure to these dangers. Personal protective equipment. It is the least effective form of control. It involves wearing of gloves, air masks, face masks, ear muffs as a protection. It is sometimes called the last line of defense, and it is chosen depending on the type of hazard that the worker is expected or exposed to. Saskatchewan Worker Regulations state that for the purpose of Section 3 to 13 of the Act, the prime contractor shall ensure in far as is reasonable practical that the employers or self-employed person at the required work site reduce or control hazard. It is not reasonable practical to eliminate. This applies to the PPE. That takes me to my conclusion. A key method of maintaining workplace safety is the hierarchy of hazard control, which includes the elimination, substitution, engineering control, administrative control, and personal protective equipment. Lowering or eliminating risk is given priority at each level, with high order control being more successful. By putting these ideas into practice at work, you will improve safety and guarantee that safety rules are followed. To safeguard workers, avoid mishap, and promote production work environment, proactive hazard control is very crucial, very important. To make the workplace safer for everyone, always try to put the best control in place. Please take me to my next slide, which is what you now know. So at this point, at least we now know the level of the hazard control, which is the elimination, the substitution, engineering control, administrative control, and personal protective equipment. These controls are now clear to you. You understand how critical, how relevant, how important it is to give higher order control top priority to successfully reduce risk and enhance workplace safety. Also, you now possess the ability to implement these managerial strategies in practical situations, guaranteeing a more secure and orderly workplace. Yes, take me to my next slide, which is discussion and question. So at this point, I want to ask my audience if they have any questions, discussion, or any contribution. Yes, who has any question?
Yeah, I do have a question.
Okay, Madeline.
What is risk?
Okay, risk is the possibility that a hazard will cause harm. Is the probability that a hazard will cause harm and how severe that harm will be when it occurs. Any other question?
Sorry, I have a question.
Okay, Yo-Yo.
What is due diligence?
Yeah, I remember mentioning due diligence. Due diligence is, I mentioned it when I was trying to talk about the employer, what the employer should put in place at work site. Let me give a practical example. Like when you wake up in the morning, your parents expect you to clean the house, wash the plates, keep your house clean. These are like due diligence, what is expected of you. So the employers are also expected to put these control measures in place to make the workplace safe for everybody.
I also have a question.
Okay, Oliver.
I heard you say something about pyrothene. What is that?
Oh, pyrothene. Yes, these are natural pesticides gotten from flour. It's harmful to pests like ants, but not harmful to humans. So instead of using the normal pesticide we know that can cause harm to humans, it's better to use this natural pesticide. It's less effective on humans, not much effect or not toxicity on humans. Any other question?
Sorry, I have a question.
Yes, okay, go on.
What is PPE?
PPE, yeah, it's an abbreviation of personal protective equipment. I mentioned that it's the last line of defense. It's at that point it's like the other controls are not possible, and then it doesn't reduce the effect. It doesn't reduce or stop the hazard from happening. What it does is it reduces the effect. Example is like a falling object. If you're wearing a hard hat, the object can still fall, but the effect will be reduced because of the hard hat compared to somebody who is not wearing anything.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for your time. At this point, I'm sharing our questionnaires for you. And then the evaluation form. So you can say how the lecture went, the performance. And thank you for your time. I appreciate you.
Thank you for giving us